Good morning. Welcome to our hybrid virtual in-person service. My name is 8, and I would like to thank you for attending this morning's Dharma family service. For those joining in person, chanting, singing, and reciting with Mass on is allowed. At the end of service, we will ask you all to remain seated until an usher helps you. We will begin the service with a moment of quiet sitting. Tara will strike the bell, and we will sit for 1 or 2 minutes to quiet our minds and prepare to hear the Dharma. Then she will strike the bell again, and we will continue with the service.
Namamida Butsu. Namamida Butsu. Namamida Butsu. Namandas, 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 namandas.
Taro will now lead us in the chanting of the Junirai, which is on page 67 of the large service book.
Namandas, namandas, namandas. げろまけまんこがちょらいみだそんむびむくこしょじょ習得け血尿国小さり悪徳自在こが将来みだそん実法名門菩薩衆無料小魔上三段一生修上願力中こが将来みだそん本体保険師匠系前言少女名大座おひざ上尿線のこが将来みだそん実法将来勝負し権限人数しやんだ戦後尊厳職業こが将来みだそん小無常無我と薬尿水月蓮よろ一種説法無名字こが将来みだそん非尊不説無悪名薬無尿に悪道不就任死心拒否損こが将来みだそん非損無料法勉強無所主悪知識往生不退死亡大こが将来みだそん仮説非損苦毒寺修善無変尿海水小逆善本性乗車エセ修上 Namandabu. 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 Ganishiku Pyodose Isai Dohon Bodai Shin Ocho An Rako. Namandas, 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 namandas.
Please rise if you are able to follow along the Gatha, Many But One, which is on the handout, and please remain standing for the reading of the Golden Chain 2. Now I will recite the Golden Chain 2 on page 15 of the large service book. Please feel free to follow along. Golden Chain 2. I am a link in the Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now, not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and we will attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 We will now have a Dharma talk by Tara.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Will you please join me in Gasho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. All right. So I'd like to start with one more quiet moment to acknowledge and honor and remember the 19 children and 2 adults lost in the shooting at the elementary school in Texas last week. So I invite all of you to join me thinking about all of those impacted by the gun violence. Namanda, Namanda. Okay, thank you. Many families and communities have experienced a lot of loss, whether it is to gun violence or hate or COVID, and also lots of change. And I also acknowledge that this community here, BBT, Berkeley Buddhist Temple, has also lost a lot of Dharma friends, and this community has also experienced a lot of changes. And so I remember thinking just before COVID, I feel like I'm at the wrong age to be going to more funerals than weddings and showers and things like that. And I realized that loss and losing someone we care about has many of the key Buddhist teachings all wrapped into one experience. One is impermanence. Everything is constantly changing, and nothing can last forever, and even us as humans. Also, that life is tough and life is suffering, and we suffer because we are human, which also means that we experience difficult emotions because we are human. And so when it comes to loss, it's extremely difficult to lose someone that we care about. And then also interdependence. Everything is connected, and part of that interconnection is that we are not alone in this world, and even if we might feel like it at times, and it is these people around us that help us get through those hard times. And so I'd like to kind of focus on the last 2 today, and I'd like to share a little bit about a Netflix series I watched. But first, how many of you root for somebody or cheer someone on in anything? Whether it's your child or your friend. You can raise your hand or give thumbs up in the chats, or it can be a child, it can be a friend, family member, specific person, maybe a sports team, maybe the Warriors? I know we have some Warrior fans here. I'm on a board of a Bay Area organization, and I always love the meetings when there's NBA playoffs and finals, because those meetings are much shorter. So, as it looks like many of us have people that we root for and cheer for, and it doesn't have to be an athletic event. It can be just, in life. And so I also have people that I root for. Never really kind of followed sports teams as much. I have always admired gymnasts like Shawn Johnson, Simone Biles, or Caitlin Ohashi. The people I root for are like my sisters, or maybe the young person that I used to advocate for. I go to their sporting events and performances, and actually, just last weekend I went to my sister's Take-Two college graduation, which is why I couldn't be here for BBTs. But yeah, I did sporadically watch Warriors games here and there and watch some Giants and A's games, but I've never really followed a team. And I bring this up because that changed when I watched the Netflix series Last Chance U Basketball. And I became obsessed with a team that no longer was together because it was a show that already went on. And so my friend told me to watch Last Chance U Basketball. And for those of you who don't know, Last Chance U follows a community or junior college sports team. And they actually started out by following a couple of football teams in Texas, and they actually followed one in Oakland, Laney College. Some of you might know. And one of their former Dharma school students actually plugged the series before. And now I'm plugging the basketball one. Anyways, so now they followed East Los Angeles College, or ELAC. And they followed their basketball team instead. And so Last Chance U, they followed this team throughout the whole year, the whole season. And it wasn't just their basketball practices and games and if they win or lose, but also the players and the coaches. The premise is that this is a chance for these players to go to college and get a degree, and a way to pay for it. And many of the players and coaches described it as a way out, a way to pull themselves out of poverty, a way to leave a neighborhood that was maybe less safe. And the other thing about community colleges that they really highlight in this show is that there aren't scholarships. There aren't dormitories on or near campus most of the time. And so these students, they need to figure out all of their financials and school and housing, and they need to train on top of all of that, all on their own. And for one of these young men, it was just figuring out all of adult life on his own. And so I'll talk more about him in a minute. And so we really get to know the players and the coaches and their struggles and who they are as people. I don't want to give too much away, but a few players, didn't have the grades despite being talented enough to play Division I basketball. One player started at Penn State, got injured, fell into marijuana for a little bit because in his head he was thinking, I'm supposed to be supporting my family right now. And while he was in that space, he called the East Los Angeles coach and asked him if he could try out. Another player, the one that I alluded to earlier, he lost both of his parents and actually came back from D1 to Los Angeles to be with his mother when she had cancer. And so I can talk about this show a lot, but I'm going to just kind of share two stories with you, or quotes with you. So during one of the interviews that the series, when they're interviewing, they interviewed each of the players. And so one of the players said, I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm angry. And the interviewer asked, do you think those things are true? And he replied, I think I'm going through the hardest part of my life. And so this quote really stood out to me because in that moment he was recognizing on TV that right now it was rough. Right now he was dealing with a lot of emotions, having just lost his mom. He was going through a lot, and it was impacting his emotions and how he was acting, and even the people around him were seeing that he was angry. And I know, at least for me, when I'm stressed or feeling angry or upset or anxious or sad, I don't always act the way you all see me right now here today. And so I really appreciated that he acknowledged this. He didn't say, nah, I'm not angry, or brush it off, or I'm happy most of the time, or anything like that. He acknowledged that he was angry and that it was a hard time, and was really reflective and thought about his feelings and what those feelings were teaching him. And they were teaching him that life is hard sometimes. And so this player and these players, they weren't alone, even though I'm sure it might have felt like it at times. And it wasn't easy, and I don't just mean the lifting weights after games or really hard practices or coach yelling at them type of hard. I mean the life difficulties. There were tears, there was yelling and lashing out, and heartbreak and hurt, and there are also moments of joy. And this player had support. He had the support of his girlfriend, his team, his coaches. And so one more story I'd like to share from this one was actually not in this show. It was in an interview after the show came out that the coach shared. And so he explained how they were in San Diego for a really big tournament, and due to budgets, community college, they didn't get to go to away tournaments that often, and they had done really well, and they had played against ranked teams, and it put them in the running to be top in the state. And they were the team to beat. And so they were all on the bus ready to go back to LA, and the coach noticed that this player wasn't on the bus, and noticed that he was walking around outside the van, looking up at the sky, hands on his hips. And so what this coach thought next, or actually what he asks next, really gives you the essence of this show. He asked himself, what happened? What's going on? And so he went out to talk to this player, and the player said, Coach, I just want to talk to her, referring to his mother who had passed the year before. And after talking for a while, the coach said, you're mine forever. And so I can talk about trauma for hours, but supporting people who have experienced trauma or stress or any difficulty, 101 is the question that this coach asked, what happened? What's going on? This question really acknowledges that there are other things going on in our lives, other things that we experience and things that we feel that impact us, and what we'll say and what we'll do. And it realizes that Buddhist teaching of interconnection, that we are interconnected with the world around us, and really to best support each other during times of difficulties is asking that question and realizing that the answer to that question is impacting us and those around us. And so now the other piece to this also is the coach, not only did he ask that question, he was there. He said, you're mine forever. And so no matter what, when we all go through difficulties in our lives and experience difficult emotions, if there is one thing I have learned over the past year, and not just through my much reading of many books in trauma, but also kind of just seeing in life, is that the number one antidote to these difficulties and the stressors is community. And Reverend Kuwahara always says the antidote is the Dharma. And we experience that Dharma and the infinite wisdom and compassion through our community and through our loved ones. And so after that show came out, many of these players had already transferred to Division I schools, so that's why I couldn't go watch them and root for them. And we realized, my family and I realized that we could actually attend some of these games, which was really cool, even though we jumped in a little bit late, so we missed a lot. And one of the players, this player, actually went to Sacramento State. And so I'm from Sacramento. And so we were actually able to go out and see his games. And so whenever I went home, we'd go. And sometimes I would go to Sacramento just to see his games. And so my mom and my sister, they're huge Warriors fans. And so they're really excited that this show is what finally got me to watch basketball. They also thought it was kind of funny and also weren't surprised. And so all of us went to many of his games, and my mom cheered for him as if he were her son, and I was really embarrassed. But even though I knew I wasn't going to be able to speak with him or say anything to him, to me, I really wanted us to be there, not only to cheer him on for his basketball games, but just in life, because just as my family and friends have been there for me for my games when I was younger, my big events that I put a lot of time into, my big days, or even just being there. I wanted us to kind of be there for him as well. Even though I know he also has his support people. He has his girlfriend. He has his ELAC, East LA basketball team. He has his coaches. I still see them posting when they see each other again and tagging each other and reposting tweets and really just showing how much of a team and community that they are. And now with Last Chance U, he has a whole fan base cheering him on too. So now going back to all of you who root for someone, whether that's your child or your friend's child or your own friend or your family or your chosen family. We are all people there. We all have people there that we support in our lives. And so now my last question for all of you. How many of you know who you would invite or who will be there at your game or performance or your big day? Or maybe who will be there in spirit? Can you think of some names? And so these are the people in our lives that these names that you're thinking of right now are those that'll cheer you on and root for you in life. And this is our Dharma medicine. So will you all please join me in Gasho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandas. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening and being here today. Thank you. So now we would like to welcome the following new guests. You're welcome to stand to be recognized if you'd like or if you're able. Jane. Welcome, Jane. Thank you for joining us. And Hayden. Hi, Hayden. Thank you both for joining us today. All right, so now I'm going to read the announcements that have been submitted. If you have any announcements to be read at the Sunday service and to be included in the announcement slide, you can send them to the temple office by Friday before the service. So first, on Wednesday, June 1st at 7 p.m., we're going to have an online meditation and discussion. You can get the link on the website or the weekly email. We also have the Berkeley Buddhist Temple A's game outing on August 21st. You need to purchase the ticket by June 15th. And so if you're interested, please contact John Kawamoto for more information. And his information can also be found in the weekly email. On Thursday, June 30th at 6:30 p.m., we're going to have the Berkeley Buddhist Temple online study session, or Dharma, and the topic is Buddhist symbols. And then we also have the Sangha singers are looking for new people who are interested in joining. So if you like to sing, you can contact Emiko Katsumoto to join the Sangha singers. All right, and that's all the announcements for today. So now, thank yous. First, I'd like to thank 8 for being the chairperson for today's service. Thank you, Bradley and Myron, for their help during today's live stream service. Thank you, Tony, for monitoring the chat room on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Emiko-san and music team for the beautiful Gatha today. And thank you to the COVID committee and May Tobon for keeping us safe and helping with refreshments. And thank you, all of you, for joining our service in person and virtually today. Hope to see you next week. Thank you so much.